Hey, good morning, everybody. Good afternoon for those of you on the East Coast. Hey, Russ, I think I saw you commenting earlier just at the start of this, coming in from Hawaii, which is awesome. Um, by the way, for those of you who are coming in here a lot, we obviously have a lot of people from DC area just because of the way this works. But we have people from Guam. If you don't know where Guam is, it's out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. And actually, when I started the GovCon Chamber, that was a goal of mine, is that we had people from Guam, the Northern Mariana Islands, America, Samoa, all these places that are out in the middle of the Pacific, Hawaii and Alaska, that we supported people like you who were out there, so that you had access to what I have here in DC. I can walk down to any federal building. Well, now we're in this virtual world, and the ability to help is so exciting. And that's why, for me, I'm glad that what we're putting out is really being helpful to people like Russ, who's out in Hawaii. I see a lot of friends coming in. It's great to see you. I got my check that we're good to go. So let me bring my guiding slide here on wherever I'm at. One of the things I want to do is just turn off this caption that runs at the bottom, because I tend to forget it, which is not a fun thing. Hey, I'm Neil McDonnell. In case you don't know me, I'm the president of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce, and I am happy that you're joining me here today on my daily LinkedIn Live, where I teach people like you the process and procedures for success in the federal market. I spent 20 years as a small business owner in the federal market, and since 2018, through the GovCon Chamber, I've been teaching people about how to follow a process to achieve success. I say government contracting is not a secret, it's just a process. And the process is A to Z. When you know the steps in between, then you're able to get success at the other end. I was just having a call with somebody this morning, and it was exciting to see her put together how the process will help her get what she wants. The beginning of our conversation was about, hey, I have this problem or challenge I'm trying to deal with. And I said, oh, well, here's process steps. She goes, oh my God, that makes so much sense. Let me go knock it out. Right. And I'm taking an hour conversation and bringing it down to 5 seconds. But this idea of process, I never really knew what process was when I had my own businesses. I was a good salesperson. Now I'm a good salesperson who knows the process, and I'm excited to be sharing it with you today. And today we're going to be talking about how do you get invited onto government contracting teams. And I mean, kind of out of the blue is what I'm really trying to teach you today. How do you increase the amount of times that maybe people are coming in and inviting you to join their team? This obviously will happen a lot more as you have more and more experience in the federal government space, right? So people can look at that. Before we get started, do me a favor and help buyers remember who you are, and put your core competency, 2 or 3 words with your company name, in the chat. We want to be able to remember who you are, but also there's buyers who come in, there's teammates, others in the community just like you. We begin to build a relationship. This same person I was talking to this morning, she was saying one of her colleagues is in these dailies and has begun to build relationships. And that's super exciting, because my team and I are able to facilitate it for you, but we're not in your way. We're not a gatekeeper. We're not a roadblock. We're actually enabling you to build relationships. And relationships start when people know who you are, which is ironically a lot of what I'm going to teach you today. Okay, in today's training, I want to talk to you about how to get invited onto government contracting teams, right? I mentioned, if you looked at the invite that I had in the description, you can do business as a prime, you can go get yourself on a team, or you can get invited to a team. And I'm going to talk about the last one, the third option, where you're getting invited onto a team. Somebody calls you up, emails you, and says, hey, we want to do an intro call, see if you might fit for an opportunity. That's good news, right? If you can get people calling you and saying, we want you to join a team, then you're increasing the amount of opportunities that are going into your pipeline with minimal effort on your behalf. It's why I always say you should have a lot of relationships that are strategic relationships, because they will start coming in more. Anyways, today I'm going to cover 3 main things. I'm going to talk to you about really KLTs. People know, like, and trust you. And I want to talk about how you need to pay attention to that and how it helps you get on teams or get invited to teams. I'm going to talk to you about VTO, visibility, targeting, and outreach, which is part of my 7-step process in the federal government revenue success chain, if you will. And then the last thing I want to cover is I'm going to give you, before you get out of here, 5 quick steps to increase your visibility, which will increase your likelihood of people inviting you to their team. These 5 quick steps, all of them could be done in really less than an hour, maybe even less than 15 minutes, but each one of them could be done in less than a few minutes, right? And so those 5 steps are real tactical advice that I want to give you coming out of this activity. So let's talk about, when you think about why people will reach out to you and want to work with you. There's a line out there that people do business with those they know, like, and trust. And an important part for us is the know, right? Do they know you exist? And so whatever you're doing on your day-to-day basis, you need to make sure more and more of your ideal relationship, customer, whatever, more and more people know you. If people don't know you, if you're invisible, then how can they send you an invitation? Even if you're the best company, how can they send an invitation? And so we need to increase how many people know you. And you need to do that through a certain activity. And I'll talk about that in a minute on which activities you can do generally, and then specifically at the end. So knowing, though, is about they just know you exist. We need to make sure they know you exist. When we move into the like part of know, like, and trust, in this particular part, we're talking about delivery, right? Do they figure that you'll be able to deliver on it? Do they like you when you're delivering? So an example is, I would argue many of you are here because you like me. You like how I'm delivering the sales training in the federal space that I deliver. There's other people who talk about federal sales, right? And some of the people will go to another person, and some of you guys, you come to me because you like it. You like the way I deliver it. You like how I smile, maybe the energy I bring, whatever it is. I don't want to say why you like it, but when you know what like is, right? I actually don't appreciate the fact that the term is know, like, and trust. I wish it was know, trust, and like, but long time ago, we got used to saying know, like, and trust. I believe no one likes you until they trust you. Anybody who's building a new relationship, first they need to know you. Then they begin to trust you. And through that trust and the engagement, they begin to like you. But so know, like, and trust. Liking, I want to show you this one graphic really quick. Liking is really important to remember. 50% of the people out there will not like you, right? I'm not trying to be mean, but when you think about the bell curve, half of the bell curve are 100% agree with you and half of them will not. All you have to do is look at the American political landscape, et cetera. Half the people are on your side of the fence and half the people are on the other side of the fence. It's just a norm. And some of them are very far on the other side of the fence, and some of them are just on the other side of the fence where you actually talk to them, but they're certainly on the other side of the fence, right? And so when you think about your own efforts and trying to get people to know, like, and trust you, only a certain amount of people are going to like you. And that's totally okay, because you want to work with the folks who like you because they'll be more open to all of the messages you're delivering. And this goes into trust, right? How do you prove trust to somebody? Knowing is easy. Oh, I know Neil. He's on LinkedIn or he's on YouTube or whatever. I know him. How do you trust me? And one of the ways I try to help you trust me is that I deliver content that when you hear it, you get it and you go, that makes sense. What he's saying makes sense. I can take action on what he's saying. Just like today, part of the way I want to get you to trust what I'm saying is not only the persuasiveness of my case and what I'm teaching you, but the 5 steps at the end. I'm going to show you 5 steps that if you take them, you will actually be able to feel yourself that your people knowing you will increase, the amount of people knowing you. But trust comes from being a subject matter expert. And I'm going to talk about this in a minute when I get to the next bullet point. But trust is about putting out content that your buyer or your teammates will begin to consume. When they look at what you're saying, what you're sharing, what's on your website, your past performances, all these things that are out there, they begin to have trust that you can do the job. In particular, when we talk about getting invited onto a team or having somebody just come along and invite you, often what happens is somebody will have an opportunity and they're doing capture on this and they're forming a team and they know that their team covers down on 70% of the work area, the task areas. And so they need to go find somebody that covers on the 30%. And I've been part of this numerous times where we go out, we start looking for people. And initially we're looking for companies that just have keywords that are in these task areas we're trying to cover down on. But once we do that, we have to then do our due diligence. We have to look at these people or these companies and decide, do they even seem to fit what we're looking for? So our initial trust level. And then once we start listening to them, either we meet with them or we see their content, that takes us to that final trust that they would fit for the team. Well, getting invited to have the discussion on the team comes from all your passive marketing material that's out there. And I'll talk about that in a minute, but it needs to come from this consistent core competency SME area, subject matter expertise. Subject matter expertise is not on 5 topics. What are you best at? That's your core competency. There's a reason I sit there and say in your in the chat, put your core competency. It's because I want to see SharePoint or construction with Elevator as a specialty, or fitness for somebody else, or workforce development. Whatever your core competency is, when you have that, it drives everything else you do. So if you're trying to build trust with people, it's easiest when you speak to what you know. I know sales, but I don't speak to real estate sales. That's not my space. I used to sell vacuum cleaners door to door, but I don't speak to that anymore because I haven't done it in 20 plus years, 30 years. And, the idea is you speak to your core competency. I speak to federal sales because I am an expert in that space. I actually don't even speak to the FAR, for example. Yes, I know it's there. It's a necessary evil, but I'm not an expert on the FAR, and I don't want to be, and I don't pretend to be. But if I come down and I just stay in my core competency, you will begin to trust me because you see me as a subject matter expert. I want you to do the same thing for potential buyers and certainly for the teaming partners. And so you talk along your core competency and you will demonstrate your subject matter expertise, which will lend or help that person who's trying to reach out to you go a long way to trusting you. And when they know, like, and trust you, they will reach out to you more. So if this is making sense, if you understand how I'm trying to tie know, like, and trust up to the getting teaming partners or getting invited onto teams, if that part is making sense, put KLT into the chat so I just know that it's ringing true. So the next thing I want to talk to you about is VTO, visibility, targeting, and outreach. It's part of the process that I teach. And let me just show you. Let me see if I got a graphic here. So VTO is visibility, targeting, and outreach, right? And what I teach people is that when you're trying to succeed in federal government contracting, it begins with a process. And the process for me is a 7-step process. It begins with visibility. Do they know who you are? Do they see you, right? And then targeting, identifying who they are. And I'm going to come back and do examples. And then outreach is reaching out to people. When you do these 3 things, you start developing relationships, which you can see right here at the beginning of the circle on the left-hand side. When you have relationships, and enough relationships, the right relationships, you will start filling your pipeline with opportunities. And those opportunities, when vetted against your core competency, against your subject matter expertise, your pipeline will have sufficient amount of opportunities that you can respond to and write proposals to, write winning proposals, because you're speaking to your core competency, which then leads to sales, right? That's obviously why we do BD and capture activities, is we're trying to land sales, win sales, grow revenue. And then when you have sales, right, you see that arrow's pointing right back up into relationships. It's continuous because now you're inside of a customer. You can expand your relationships. You're able to reach with more teaming partners because you have more experience. More people are attracted to you. So you're developing more relationships. The part I want to talk to you about is VTO over here on the left. VTO is a great way for me to think about how to advise you today on things you can do that will help you get invited to teams. So an example is visibility. First thing is your 6 marketing assets. I've done a training on this before. It's in the replays. You can go look at it. And in the 6 marketing assets, just as a reminder, it's your dynamic small business search or small business profile, your capability statement, your capability briefing deck, your website, your LinkedIn profile, personal profile, and your LinkedIn company page. Those 6 make up your 6 key marketing assets. When somebody comes to look at you, when you have it out there and it's just working passively for you. These are the assets that people will look at before they ever talk to you, right? They'll look at your website, they'll look at your LinkedIn profile, et cetera. Another thing on visibility that you can focus on to get visibility in a way that you'll get invited onto teams, right? When I talk about visibility, there's all sorts of things you can do. So here I'm just trying to give you 3 steps for visibility as it relates to getting on teams or getting invited to teams. The second thing you can do is attend events. And in this case, I mean events like a conference or attend industry days, whether those industry days are in person or virtual, doesn't matter. The idea behind a industry day, as an example, is often people will get a list of attendees at that industry day event. The government does the industry day, they take registration and they pass out sometimes the industry or the attendee list. It's gold, like 100, 200 people, names, companies, if you're lucky, phone numbers and email addresses as well. And when you attend one of these events, now you're on the radar for other people. And if they're doing their due diligence and they come over and look at your LinkedIn profile as an example and then decide to reach out, well, that's one way that they know who you are. You've increased your visibility by attending the industry day. Conferences is kind of that same thing. You walk around and you might connect with people on LinkedIn right there like I do, or you can drop your business card and on the the tables. If you're looking at a lot of different primes that are out there, you can just drop your card. You could actually talk to people. There's no I'm saying this without talking about the strategy behind going to a conference, but just attending a conference, you are now visible to teaming partners, potential primes that might invite you in to join their team. And so that's a great way to increase visibility and the likelihood of getting invited. And then the last one is the supplier portal. If you haven't downloaded the directory we have at www.govconchamber.com, it's a free directory of supplier portals with large primes. There's over 100 portals in there already, and there's also federal agency ones in there, but I'm not talking about that at the moment. But this directory has all these portals. Well, you want to be able to be visible to potential teaming partners within large primes, as an example. So if you're in Booz Allen, they have hundreds of capture and business developer personnel, people responsible for federal sales in there who always have a need for teaming partners. If you're not in their portal and that's the main place they look, then you're invisible to them. But if you put yourself in there, now you're visible. So go in and download that directory. Maybe Gus, if you can drop that into the chat, people can get to it. But I don't even think we asked for your email address. We're just making it available because I spent so many years having to struggle to find this information. We love putting it out there. So that was visibility. 3 tips on how to increase your visibility: the 6 marketing assets, events, and the supplier portals. So now targeting, right? One of the things you want to keep in mind that as you're trying to get invited onto a team, and I say make surprise invitations like this targeted. Don't let it happen by accident. Let it happen on purpose, right? You might not be able to control all the invitations you get, but you can begin to target it if you understand the primary agency. So when you're doing any of the activity, the supplier portal stuff I just talked about, when you're doing any of this activity, make sure you're going to events that fit your primary agency. If the Navy is your primary agency, don't go to an EPA or a HUD event, right? Don't go out and talk to companies that are doing a lot of work at DHS. Those aren't your target customers or companies. Even if Booz Allen was at DHS and at Navy, well, you want to be talking to the Navy ones, not the ones over at DHS. And a lot of times civilian and DOD don't talk. So if you understand your primary agency, then your activity around increasing your visibility, which supplier portals to get on, which conferences to go to, et cetera, will all be within an agency. And this allows you to go deeper, but more importantly, it allows you to find prime contractors, large or small businesses, and interact with them in a way that they know you, that you are visible to them, right? They might not know you at any depth, but you're on their radar. And that's how you go to the next level is by people just knowing who you are. Then they can begin to consume whatever you're putting out, marketing assets, et cetera. So targeting, make sure you know your agency and then find the larges that you want and the smalls that you want from those agencies and become visible to them. What conferences, events, et cetera, are they going to? That's where you want to be. And then the last thing I want to talk about is from a VTO standpoint is outreach. And 3 ways you can think about outreach to increase the likelihood that you'll get surprise invitations to join teams. And this is not, by the way, the only strategy. This is one part of a broader strategy you would have around sales. But how do you get invited onto more teams? Attend matchmaking events. Where I talk about in targeting, it's identifying, events where I talk about going to a conference. There you're just walking around. But when you go to a matchmaking event, let's say you go to Gold Coast for Navy that's coming up in September. Maybe David will put it in the comments there. But if you're going out there, they might have a matchmaking portion and they might have large primes lined up. Well, you can do a matchmaking event specifically with them, and you're just getting visibility with them. Generally, you're probably going to talk to the SBLO, the Small Business Liaison Officer, but at least you're in their view. You're on their radar. So outreach, you can attend a matchmaking event. Another thing you can do is content creation. This is a big deal for building trust out there and visibility. So if you create content, a podcast, write a blog, put a post on LinkedIn, do a video on YouTube, if you create content around your core competency, right? One of the mistakes people make is they do content that has nothing to do with their core competency because they think it's going to get them visibility. Well, they're right. It does get them visibility, but it gets them visibility from the wrong audience. If you're a cybersecurity company, the only content you should create is around cybersecurity. You want to attract CISOs or CISOs, the cybersecurity officers, and people in the cyberspace, other teaming partners around that. If you create content around your core competency, you will attract an audience of buyers and teaming partners looking for your services, compared to if you write content, how to do a LinkedIn, if you do a post about how to do a LinkedIn post, well, you get all sorts of people who are just randomly trying to do stuff, including people outside the GovCon space. And so focus your content creation down. But when you do that and create content around your core competency, you will attract a lot more people, and when they see you, will begin to have trust in you because your content is speaking to us from a subject matter expert's standpoint. So create the content. Last one for outreach is LinkedIn engagement. You want to get out there and engage on LinkedIn. And in this particular case, let's say it's large primes you're trying to reach out to. You can find content that's being created out there and to begin to engage it in a way that you can add something to the discussion. So an example is if your space is SharePoint and people are out there talking about Office 365, or yesterday I mentioned Flank Speed as the Navy's SharePoint platform. Well, you can find discussions going on, posts being dropped that are related to Flank Speed in the Navy. Go in there, add your 2 cents. Hey, I like this. I see it from this direction. What about this? That's what social platforms want, is for us to engage. And so in LinkedIn, you have this opportunity to do it at a professional level and demonstrate your expertise. So if that VTO, the visibility targeting and outreach, is making sense to you, put VTO in the chat. If you've got a question about what I'm talking about, if I need to clarify it more, let me know. Put a question in or go ahead and DM me directly, send me a message. So I want to wrap up with 5 tips. These are 5 things that you could do right now. If you want to get invited on more teams, you need to increase your visibility. Number 1 thing is people need to know you. If they don't know you, they can never invite you. Later on, you can deal personally with getting them to like you, and you can deal with getting them to trust you, right? I gave you some suggestions there. But right now, I'm going to give you 5 tips on how you can get them to know you. I'll try to summarize these and put them down later. But the first tip, all 5 tips, by the way, are in LinkedIn. They're designed to rapidly give you increased visibility. So the first thing is your headline. Even for those of you who already have a headline, listen to what I'm about to say. So in LinkedIn, you have you have your name, and then you have a headline below there. Your headline should be in this format of who you help, what you help them do, the results, and how you help them do it, right? I help small businesses in the federal space achieve repeatable success or predictable success by giving them a repeatable process, right? It's just these 3 sections. Go into your headline, look at that, and go, does it say that tied to my core competency? Who do I help? The results I help them get. How do I help them get it? It's just a sentence. I help these people get this thing this way. Okay, headline. Second one is capability statement. In LinkedIn, you have the ability to upload a file. So upload your capability statement, your PDF, into the featured section of your profile, and also upload it into the experience section of your company, your company. So down a little bit lower on the LinkedIn profile, it has the whole experience section. Upload your capability statement there as a PDF and also put it in the featured section. When people land on your profile, if your responsibility is to sell for your company, you want them to get easy access to your capability statement so they can learn a little bit more about what you have. They can download it and take it away. They've got your cage code, your UEI, etc. So the second step is get your capability statement uploaded. The third one, and this one goes back up towards the top, you've got your name, you've got your headline, and right below that, you might see, here are the 5 things I talk about. So mine, it might be government contracting, sales, marketing, et cetera, right? And it's a hashtag. And so what a hashtag means is the $ and then a word. What is yours, right? If you talk about elevators, hashtag elevators, hashtag construction, hashtag energy efficiency, whatever it is, it needs to be no spaces, right? So it's just a hashtag. And the idea is when you put that in, Google and LinkedIn are returning results to people who are searching for elevators. Who talks about elevators? Who's expert in there? Put these things in there. Don't put HubZone or woman-owned small business. Put in what your core competency is. 5 words, 5 keywords that describe your core competency, and put those at the top. You will see the number of people finding you when they're doing search increase massively. And if you've got a good headline, they find you, they see the headline, and if it makes sense, they come in. And the next step is, if they're doing due diligence on you, they might want to visit your website. Many of us forget to put our website up in the contact information. So edit your profile at the top, same place you're doing the headline and the talks about. Up at the top, I want you to go in and add your company's website. There's no reason not to have that. So put your company website in there. The second thing is part of this is add in your company email address. 80%, 90%, I don't even know what the facts are, but I know personally it's a lot more than 80%. Have like Gmail or some personal email account or old college account. You're in business to sell. As you know, if you're on this call, you're trying to increase revenue, you're somehow part of sales, put in your company website or email address so that people know exactly how to reach you. So your website and your company email address into the contact information. That'll make it so much easier for people to want to reach out to you. Because when they look at your contact information, they go, oh, that's Neil at GovCon Chamber. That's business. Let me reach out, compared to Hotmail. The last tip I have for you is I have a LinkedIn post called the Small Business Directory. Letting people know that yesterday I dropped the Small Business Directory. And that post is on my LinkedIn profile. Go reshare it on yours with no comments, or don't put in any extra words. It just says you can reshare or share or repost. What you want to do is repost because it gives visibility to your audience. Obviously, it brings them back to my post, which is great. But you get borrowed credibility of this marketing asset that many of your connections would love. And it refreshes all of those people who see it back to your profile, and you're the one kind of getting credit for bringing this asset to them. Those are 5 simple steps that you could take to increase the likelihood of more people knowing you, which then increases the likelihood that you get invited on teams more. I know it's a fire hose of information. If you have any questions about what I'm saying, go ahead and direct message me. I'm happy to clarify some of it. If this made sense and you appreciate what you heard today and you appreciate the training, give us a thumbs up. We work hard to bring this to you, and a thumbs up or a comment is always really appreciated. Remember, government contracting, it's not a secret. It's just a process. Part of the process is coming back to the next event. I'll see you there.